How to make the best TCG proxy. This man is gonna get banned from Konami.
Card games are really expensive right now. Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, some other games, not really an issue for like Pokemon.
God's strongest
but for
soldier.
those games that you probably enjoy a lot, but aren't able to play because of how expensive they are, I would like to show you a couple different ways that I go about proxy.
The Nets
cards,
tweet? Like the
for
Gabriel
handful-
Nets tweet? Yeah, where he just has like the sheet of like bonfires and like every Fire King and like rollback and everything. Yeah, I saw that.
different games. So no matter what game you play, whether it's expensive or cheap, these methods will work for you for proxying cards, because why spend $100 on this card when you could spend a handful of cents on these? Now, I imagine everyone is already familiar with writing on a card in Sharpie or sticking a piece of paper in front of a card, but these are less than ideal, so let's talk about some fairly cost-effective ways to make cards that are pretty much indistinguishable from a real card when it's put into a sleeve.
One ring!
And
Oh, shit,
also,
never
to
mind.
finish this off,
One
I'll show
ring.
you how to make some nice-looking foil cards that you can use with some lying around bulk that you have. Disclaimer, these cards are not legal for use in official tournaments in basically any game. I think Magic might be
Caleb's
the only
getting
game that
fucking
allows
banned.
proxies. So if you are playing with these cards, please understand the rules of whatever tournament you're playing in. And I recommend these for playing with friends. I use these for alt formats that I play and I run, where I don't really want to spend the money on some expensive cards, or I have to have a lot of copies of the same card and I don't want to buy 20 copies.
Buy
of the
50
exact
Ash
same card,
Blossoms.
when I can just print out a handful of them. So keep that in mind. Big disclaimer, don't get banned. Don't do something stupid. Don't use these where you're not supposed to. Now, I found to work the best for printing proxies are these two different
That's
pieces
a good
of paper.
snack.
So you've got 300 GSM cardstock. GSM is how weighty it is, or if you put them side by side, it's gonna be hard to tell, but they're about the same thickness. When you put them in a sleeve, it's hard. You cannot easily distinguish the difference. There's a little bit less bend in a real Yu-Gi-Oh card, but that's because I don't double side these proxies. If you were to put another piece of sticker paper on the back, it would basically feel almost identical. And so the way that you actually get the images of your cards onto the thick cardstock is through these printable vinyl sticker papers. If you notice, by the way, any gross image issues on these, it's because I don't have a great printer. I don't like using my good printer for printing proxies because I don't want to waste expensive ink on these. So these don't look great in quality. I'll
my
show you
God.
some that I've printed that actually look quite good.
These look pretty nice. Like, if you just were like, fuck, I need a volcanic scatter, like, during tier format, where, like, scatter shots are, like, $15 for no good reason. And you were like, fuck, like, I really need a scatter shot for, like, locals or whatever. I would probably do this. This is actually, like, pretty nice. If you use, like, a really high-quality printer, that you just had one because you had, like, access to an office, or you just natively have, like, a $300 printer, like, this is pretty good.
Good printer, just to show you what you can make with these. But the whole point of this is that I want this to be affordable. Don't spend way too much money on making nice looking proxies when yeah, these don't look great, but it's fine. It does the job. It's the card. That's all that matters. So we have 300 GSM cardstock. This is not going to go through your printer. It is too thick. If you were to try and print with it, it's not going to actually get spooled. It's not going to go through and print. You'll have issues. So what you do is you use this as a core, and you put this sticker paper on top of it. It's pretty much what they do to actually print cards. If you've ever taken apart a card, you've ripped one, there's a cardstock core, and then they print paper on the top and the back that they then glue together.
Damn, this video is good as hell.
We'll
What the
hopefully
hell?
have an image on screen right now that you can see, so you can see what the process looks like for this. But that's practically what we're doing when we're doing this. We're kind of recreating their process. So if you want to make really, really nice looking proxies, use a good printer and stick printable sticker paper on the front and the back. And I'll show the kind of process I do for making these in a second. But these are the two things I use. You can get 20 or 60 sheets of this, and this goes up to 50. So you can buy them in bulk. You can make a ton of cards with these. This is just a handful of sheets all together that I use to print out all these cards. These are staples for an alt format I run. And I will show you, this is one of the nicer looking proxies I've made. I haven't done a lot of detail work, so there's an issue here on the side. But, I mean, these look quite good when compared side by side with real Magic cards. So if you actually use a good printer, you can make some very convincing looking proxies.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's not
Pretty
a real
good.
card. So, I found that these two work really well for me in making those proxies. And I'll kind of show you what the process looks like here now. So most card games should already have someone that's made a proxy generation site. Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic for sure. So these are their sites that you can use to generate proxies. And what either of these sites are going to do is you put in a list of cards, and it'll give you a PDF or a PNG that you can then go ahead and print out. Now, the one thing you need to make sure that you're doing when you do this is you click the fit to paper option in your print settings.
What the fuck was that? That was... Jesus Christ.
It will depend on the computer, the operating system you're using, but you need to make sure that that's clicked because otherwise the size of the cards might be wrong. I printed out some Yu-Gi-Oh proxies earlier today, and they were just completely the wrong size because I forgot to use this option. So make sure that whenever you're doing this, you make sure that you hit fit to paper. So we're printing to the printable vinyl sheets. You're printing onto sticker paper essentially here. And once you have those sticker paper sheets printed onto, you're going to go ahead and you're going to attach it to the cardstock. Now, when you do this,
the forbidden art, the forbidden jutsu.
But if
do
you
not
too
show
fast,
this to
you'll end up
Konami. They will kill your family.
I've got some different cards I'll show you here of how bad they can end up looking if they've got some pretty bad bubbles in them. You can get what are called a squeegee, which you can use to kind of push air out as you go along. But essentially what you need is some way to push air out. You want to make sure that you're not damaging the printed vinyl sheet when you do it. So once you've got it attached to that thicker cardstock, you're going to...
I'm making so many SP Little Knights. I'm making millions.
Want to cut those cards out of the papers. I recommend getting potentially a backlight you can put underneath if you're using a guillotine cutter, because it'll help illuminate the edges so you can make sure that where you're cutting is actually where it needs to be. It can be very difficult to eyeball unless you've done it a lot, again, like I have. So make sure that you're taking your time with this. Another thing that I'd recommend is this vinyl paper.
Damn.
If you bring up a guillotine knife too quickly,
that just looks like real. And then you could just take like a pair of scissors, like clean up the edges a little bit. Bro, you could not tell me that these aren't real. These look real as fuck.
Vinyl, you can actually kind of scrape some of the ink off. So being careful, being slow with it is a really good idea. And then once you've got these cards cut out, I have this little tool that helps round the corners of cards. I think it's a 4mm setting is the one that I use. It's still a little, it's not sharp enough for what card corners actually look like. If I'm doing Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I don't round the corner at all. Magic cards, I will round the corner because they're large enough that you kind of need to get them into the sleeve sometimes. But for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, it's usually not a problem for whatever reason. The main thing that's important here, at least to me, is cost effectiveness.
It's too blurred? Look, man, I would rather make a blurry-ass proxy that maybe cost me like 10 cents to make than have to spend $15 on a whatever. On like a fucking scattershot, okay?
Of doing proxying is to not have to spend insane amounts of money to be able to play these fun games that we all enjoy. So,
like, I don't want to have to spend $1 trillion on a fucking horror score.
As long
you
as
know
they're
what I mean?
readable, that's really all that matters. In the case of Yu-Gi-Oh, that can be a little bit harder because there's a lot of text on some of these cards. If you have issues with clarity, check the quality settings in your printer settings, and potentially you just may have a printer that's not great. You know, the printer that I use is just not great with quality, but you know, I'll play back this.
Yeah, this one kind of looks like shit, I won't lie.
One Ring that I printed. It looks incredible. It's fantastic. It's super readable, even some of the super small text, and it's because I use.
Yeah, Magic people don't care, but for Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm putting common scatter shots. Like, my life depends on it.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this Enlightenment Paladin I have lying around. It's a really cheap quarter century rare, about 40 cents. We're gonna grab acetone, and we're gonna go ahead and grab some cotton balls. So all you're gonna do here is you're gonna use the acetone, put it on some cotton balls, and wipe away the ink off of the card. It's as simple as that. We're just wiping off the ink, and then we're going to print out a new image that we're going to put on top of it using a transparent vinyl sticker. And there it is. It's just a blank. You can see there's a little
shiny
bit of the name printed into the card still, like pressed into it. But that's okay. That's normal. We're going to go ahead and we're going to print out our vinyl sticker paper. This is transparent vinyl. So
the QCR wanted.
Paper here. We'll get just the individual card that we want out of it.
Oh my
we're gonna
god.
Get Triple Tactics Talent here. We're going to peel it off. And you're just going to put it onto that blank card that we have, that hollow foil blank. Now, I didn't do a great job at this. This is the first time I'd done this before. Take your time with this. Maybe what I recommend is you put the hollow face down and place the card on top of it. But if you make any mistakes like I did here, you can go and use an X-Acto knife to go ahead and cut off the excess sticker.
What have we done?
Off the side of the card. And here we have it side by side with a real Forbidden Droplet.
Okay, it doesn't look that good. I'm not gonna lie and pretend to be like, oh yeah, it's pretty 1-to-1. No, it's very, very obviously like one of these is a fucking faker and the other one's like real as hell. But it does look good enough, which is very funny.
You know, the real one looks way better. But for what it is, our proxy looks pretty good.
It's like a 5 out of 10. If you had like a super high quality printer, you could maybe get it to like an 8 or 9.
Use a great printer for this. I use some pretty cheap, clear, transparent vinyl paper. So you could probably make them look a lot better if you really wanted to. But at the end of the day, I just wanted a shiny TTT, and I was able to make one. Obviously, it doesn't look as good as a real one. We don't want it to look as good as a real one anyway, because we're not trying to pass this off as a real card. We just want a nice looking copy
I'm
that
trying
we
to
can use for fun.
I'm trying to do that.
You know, some of our alt format decks or playing with friends. It's a cool thing to be able to have. And you can also get some really cool rarities for cards that aren't out yet and don't currently have that rarity. You can see I've got a Bonfire here. Hasn't released yet.
The QCR Bonfire.
Century secret rare. You can also see it's super scuffed because the ink hadn't dried, and I, was whipping up this video and I wanted to toss this in here, and so it led to the ink getting scuffed off. So make sure you're careful when you're doing this. And there you have it. This is how I proxy cards.
Damn, what a good ass video.